I am Dr. A. Sheikh Maidin, Professor, Department of Chemistry, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. In this session, we are going to revise all the 5 units of engineering chemistry. The first chapter is positive bands, in which you are learning the topic concept of wave mechanics, application of Schrodinger wave equation for a particle in one-dimensional box, for hydrogen atom, quantum numbers, shapes of orbitals, LCAO-MO of hydrogen molecule, band theory of solids, semiconductors and superconductors. So the concept of wave mechanics can be understood from the de Broglie dual character of electron, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and Schrodinger wave equation. So according to de Broglie, the microscopic particle possesses wave as well as particle character. According to Heisenberg uncertainty principle, it is not possible to determine the change in position and momentum simultaneously. The Schrodinger wave equations are given in Laplacian form as del square psi is equal to minus 8 pi square m into E minus V into psi divided by h square, and in Hamiltonian form it is given as h cap psi is equal to E psi. The wave function is a mathematical function which describes both the wave character as well as particle character of electron. Know the conditions for accepted wave function. It is must be a single valued function, must be continuous, and must have definite value, and must be normalized. Now let us see the application of Schrodinger wave equation for particle in one-dimensional box. You need to explain the boundary conditions for a particle one-dimensional box. So in one-dimensional box, the particle is moving between the limits x equal to 0 and x equal to L. So inside the box, the potential energy is 0 because the particle is moving. Further, the wave function of that moving particle is definite inside the box, and the potential energy of outside of the box is infinitive, and the particle probability of finding particle outside the box is 0. So you need to find out the wave function of moving particle in one-dimensional box. It is given as psi is equal to a sin n by L x, where a is equal to normalization constant square root of 2 by L. So substituting the value of a, we get the wave function for a particle in one-dimensional box as psi is equal to square root of 2 by L sin n pi by L into x. So the energy of moving particle can also be calculated using the expression E is equal to n square h square 8 ml square, where is the principal quantum number. As the principal quantum number increases, the energy difference between the two levels increases. Now let us see the application of Schrodinger wave equation for hydrogen atom. So the spatial rotation of electron around the nucleus can be expressed by replacing the Cartesian coordinates with polar coordinates using the internal angles r and the internal radius r, internal angles theta and phi. So by using the simple trigonometric function, it is possible to determine the Cartesian coordinates x, y, and z. X is equal to r sin theta cos phi, y is equal to r sin theta sin phi, and z is equal to r cos theta. So replacing the del square in the Schrodinger wave equation, it is possible to get with in terms of total wave function psi of r theta phi, which is equal to E psi. The complete wave function is defined for hydrogen atoms defined as the product of radial wave function and angular wave function. There are 4 quantum numbers are used to describe the location energy of electron, their principal quantum number. So it gives the address of an electron in a shell. The azimuthal quantum number, it gives the address of an electron in a subshell. And magnetic quantum number, it gives the number of orbitals in each subshell and explains the possible orientations. Spin quantum number explains the spin of electron along its axis. So based on the magnetic quantum numbers, so we have different shape of orbitals, and the s orbitals are of spherically symmetrical in all directions. So p orbitals have two lobes, they lie along their respective axes, and d orbitals are of 5 types, and the first 4 types are double jumbled shape, except that the dz square has 2 lobes lie along z axis and the ring of electron density around the nucleus. Now let us see the next topic, LCAO and MO of hydrogen molecule. So according to LCAO theory, so linear combination of atomic orbitals gives 2 types of molecular orbitals, namely bonding molecular orbitals and anti-bonding molecular orbitals. So the overlapping of wave function of the 2 hydrogen atoms can give either a constructive wave of bonding molecular orbital or a destructive wave of anti-bonding molecular orbitals. So if psi A and psi B are wave functions of hydrogen atoms, HA and HB respectively, then the wave function of molecular orbital, bonding molecular orbital is given as psi is equal to psi A plus psi B into NB, and wave function of anti-bonding molecular orbital is given as psi A is equal to psi A minus psi B into Na, where NB and Na are known as normalization constant for bonding molecular orbitals and anti-bonding molecular orbitals respectively. The energy of bonding molecular orbitals can be calculated using the expression Q plus beta, and the energy of anti-bonding molecular orbitals can be calculated by using the expression Q minus beta, where Q is known as Coulomb integral and theta is known as exchange integrals. So this energy level diagram explains the overlapping of the 2 hydrogen atoms HA and HV. So it produces the lower energy bonding molecular orbitals, which will have the net wave function of psi A plus psi B, and higher energy antibody molecular orbitals, which have the wave function of psi A minus psi B. So when n number of atoms overlap each other, they form n by 2 number of 2c plus bonding molecular orbitals. They are known as filled valence band. And n by 2 number of 2c plus anti-bonding molecular orbitals known as empty conduction band. The energy difference between the 2 bands is known as energy gap. Based on the energy gap values, the substances are classified into insulators, semiconductors, and conductors. So semiconductors are substances which conduct electricity partially to pass through them, and the extremely pure form of semiconductors are known as intrinsic semiconductors, and impure form of semiconductors are known as extrinsic semiconductors, and the type of impurities added to enhance or magnify the electric conductive semiconductors are p-type and n-type impurities. So the role of arsenic doping, how the arsenic atom improves the electrical conductivity of semiconductors. This is an example of pentavalent impurity. So it is capable of injecting its excess electrons into the silicon crystal lattice. So this electron acts as charge carriers and is responsible for maximum electric conductance of n-type extrinsic semiconductor. Gallium is an example of trivalent impurity. It is capable of creating hole into the silicon crystal lattice. So the movement of this positive hole in the crystal lattice is responsible for maximum electric conductance of semiconductor. So you know what are superconductors? So those substances which conduct electricity with zero resistance when cooled below its threshold temperature are known as superconductors. For example, helium becomes superconductor when it is cooled to its threshold temperature of 4 Kelvin, and lead becomes superconductor when it is cooled below its threshold temperature of 7.28 Kelvin. The expulsion of magnetic lines of forces during the change of normal conducting state to superconducting state is known as Meissner effect, and superconductors find applications quantum computing, sensors, magnetic resonance imaging, and military transport applications. So the second unit is molecular spectroscopy, in which you are learning the topic electromagnetic spectrum, rotational transitions, vibrational transitions, electronic transitions, and derivation of Beer-Lambert's law and lasers. So you know that the electromagnetic radiations are composed of gamma rays, X-rays, UV rays, visible light, IR light, microwaves, and radio waves. In the electromagnetic spectrum, so these electromagnetic radiations are arranged in increasing order of their wavelength and decreasing order of their frequencies. So these electromagnetic radiations are characterized with various properties such as velocity of waves, frequency of waves, wave number, and energy of electromagnetic radiations. So you know that the interaction of atom and molecules with electromagnetic radiations gives the various spectroscopic transitions, namely rotational transitions, vibrational transitions, and electronic transitions. So let us learn the topic rotational spectra of linear rigid diatomic molecules. So to discuss this topic you need to write the determination of moment of inertia of linear diatomic molecules. Then you have to calculate rotational energy of the linear rigid diatomic molecules. So in this diagram, the two particles of two different same diatomic molecules of A and B of different masses M1, M2 are separated by a distance is given. And at the center of gravity, M1 R1 is equal to M2 R2, where R1 and R2 are the distance of their separation from the center of gravity. The moment of inertia of this diatomic particle is given as M1 M2 divided by M1 plus M2 R square, or I is equal to mu R square, where mu is known as reduced mass of the rigid diatomic molecules. And the rotation energy of a linear diatomic molecule is given as E is equal to h square by 8 pi square I into J plus 1, where J is the rotational quantum numbers. So this energy can be expressed in terms of wave number as gamma bar is equal to B into J plus 1, where B is the rotational quantum number. So knowing the value of rotational quantum numbers, it is possible to determine the energy level difference of different rotational levels. So based on the moment of inertia, the molecules can be classified into four types: linear molecules, symmetric top molecules, asymmetric top molecules, spherical top molecules. So you know that the interaction of atoms and molecules with IR light leads to different mode of vibrations, namely stretching vibrations and bending vibrations. So those molecules which possess a net stable moment and the difference of vibrational quantum numbers plus or minus 1 will exhibit vibrational transitions. So what are stretching vibrations? If two bonded atoms continuously vibrate between the bonds by changing their distances without altering the bond angles, this is known as stretching vibrations. There are two types of stretching vibrations, namely symmetrical stretching and asymmetrical stretching. For example, in the case of carbon dioxide, if each oxygen atom moves towards carbon atom or moves away from the carbon atom, leads to symmetrical stretching. If one oxygen atom moves towards carbon, the other oxygen atom moves away from the carbon, then it is known as asymmetrical stretching. There are four types of bending vibrations are observed. They are scissoring, rocking, twisting, wagging. If the two atoms are joined to a center atom and move towards and away from each other, it is known as scissoring. If the two atoms move simultaneously in the same direction with respect to the center atom, it is known as rocking. If one of the atoms moves up, the other atom moves down with respect to the center atom and thereby changing the bond angles, it is known as twisting. If the two atoms move back and forth in the same direction with respect to center atom, it is known as wagging. Now let us see the typical examples of nonlinear molecules. to learn the mode of vibrations. So CO2 is here an example of linear triatomic molecules, and its vibration degrees of freedom can be calculated using the expression 3n minus 5, where n is the number of atoms present in the molecule is equal to 3. So therefore, the CO2 has 4 modes of vibrations, namely symmetrical stretching, asymmetrical stretching, and 2 bending vibrations. In the case of symmetrical stretching, no change in dipole moment takes place, and hence it is IR inactive. So the remaining 3 modes of vibrations exhibit net dipole moment, and hence they are active. So in the case of hydrogen H2O molecule, it is a non-linear triatomic molecule, and in order to calculate vibration degrees of freedom for non-linear triatomic molecules, we have the expression 3n minus 6. Therefore, the water has 3 fundamental modes of vibrations, namely symmetrical stretching, asymmetrical stretching, bending vibrations. So all the 3 modes of vibrations have net dipole moment, and hence they are IR active. So what is how to calculate force constant for a diatomic molecule? Using the expression minus F is equal to Kx, where F is the restoring force, K is the force constant, X is the displacement, and the negative sign indicates the force that has direction opposite to that of X. The relationship between force constant and oscillating frequency is given by omega is equal to square root of K by mu. So squaring on both the sides, we have omega square is equal to K by mu, or K is equal to mu omega square, where mu is the reduced mass and omega is the oscillative frequency, which can be expressed in terms of angular frequency as 2 pi gamma, or gamma is given by C by lambda. So 1 by lambda is known as wave number gamma bar. So that gamma, by knowing the value of wave number, the omega can be calculated so that the force constant of diatomic molecules can be determined. Now let us see the electronic transition of organic molecules. When a molecule absorbs energy in the UV and the visible light, its outermost electrons are promoted from the lower energy level to next higher energy level, and the phenomenon is known as electron transition. There are 3 types of electrons are involved in the electron transition. They are sigma bonding electrons, pi bonding electrons, and N non-bonding lone pair electrons. Sigma to sigma star transitions are observed in near UV region. N to sigma star transitions occur in mid UV region. Pi to pi star transition and N to pi star transitions, they are observed in UV and visible region. So to derive the Beer-Lambert's law, you need to write the statement of Beer-Lambert's law. So when a beam of monochromatic light passes through an absorbing solution, the rate of decrease of intensity of incident light with any thickness varies directly to its concentration and the path length of the solution. So by integrating this equation with the limits I naught to I and thickness 0 to L, it is possible to get the expression 2.303 log of I naught by I is equal to K dash CL. Log of I naught by I is known as absorbance. K dash 2.303 is known as molar extinction coefficient. So the expression can be reduced into A is equal to epsilon CL, or A is directly proportional to CL. So the statement can also be written as, can be stated as, when a beam of monochromatic light passes through an absorbing solution, the amount of light absorbed is directly proportional to the concentration of the solution and the path length of the solution. Now, what is meant by laser? It stands for light amplification of by stimulated emission of radiation. So laser light will have a coherency and it is highly directional light with a greater intensity. There are 3 types of lasers are given in this syllabus. They are semiconductor laser or diode laser, gas, neon, helium laser, and excimer laser. In the case of diode laser, the active medium is the aluminum and gallium arsenide material in the form of N and P type. And the pumping source is used here is the electrical energy, I mean direct current. There are three types of mechanisms are used to explain the production of laser beam. So, namely energy absorption, spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission. So, when a potential is applied at the PN junction, so the electron absorbs the energy and goes to transition to a higher energy level. So, when these electrons fall from higher energy to lower energy level, the difference of this energy is converted into new photons. When this new photon travels in the same direction as the incident photon, it produces a bright monochromatic coherent light of laser. In gas laser, the active medium is a mixture of helium and neon gases in the ratio of 10:1, and the pumping source used here is direct current source. In the case of excimer laser, the active medium is the excited dimer consisting of noble gas atoms like argon, krypton, or xenon with the fluorine molecules in the form of F2. And the pumping source is either an electric discharge tube or an electron beam. So the pumping source is capable of producing the excited argon radicals, argon ion, and fluorine atoms or fluorine ion. When these actually radicals and ions collide, they produce excited dimers of A or F star. When come back to ground state, this A or F star emit the laser light, leaving them in the ground state of argon fluoride. The unit 3 is functional materials, in which you are learning the topics conducting polymers, charge transport carriers in polyacetylene, charge transport carriers in polyaniline, organic light emitting diodes, organic photovoltaics, and liquid crystals. What are conducting polymers? Those polymers which conduct electricity because of their conjugated pi bonding systems are known as conducting polymers. The examples of conducting polymers are polyacetylene and polyaniline. There are two types of isomers of polyacetylene, and they are cis isomer and trans isomer. In cis isomer, the hydrogen atoms are arranged on the same side of carbon-carbon double bond, and trans configuration, the hydrogen atoms are arranged in the opposite sides of carbon-carbon double bond. The polyacetylene can be synthesized by passing the monomer acetylene over the Ziegler-Natta catalyst, and at about 78 degrees Celsius, it produces a cis configuration of polymer. It has the electrical conductivity of 10⁻⁸ Siemens per centimeter. When it is subjected to 150 degrees Celsius, it produces a more stable silver-colored trans configuration of polyacetylene. Now let us see the charge transport carriers polyacetylene. You know the electric conductance of pure polyacetylene, I mean cis isomer, is 10⁻⁸ Siemens per centimeter. So when it is subjected to a high temperature of 150 degrees Celsius, it undergoes structural distortion to form the two domains of trans polyacetylene. When these two domains meet together, a misfit is produced with a radical defect is known as soliton. So the formation of soliton is responsible for an intrinsic semiconductivity of trans polyacetylene. So the magnitude of this semiconductor can be increased by the process of either P-type oxidative doping or N-type reductive doping. So when trans polyacetylene is treated with the iodine vapor, it removes an electron from the polymer chain and creates a positive charge with a radical site. It is known as a polaron. When it is treated with excess amount of iodine vapor, it removes another electron and forms a dication. It is known as a bipolaron or dication. So in the case of N-type reductive doping, the polymer is treated with sodium metal and produces a dianion or bipolaron. So the formation of bipolaron in the polymer structure is responsible for the maximum electric conductance of 10⁻³ Siemens per centimeter in the case of doped trans-polyacetylene. And polyaniline is another example of conducting polymer, which can be prepared by electrochemical oxidation of aniline by using ammonium peroxide disulfate as oxidizing agent. So polyaniline consisting of an alternate arrangement of reduced benzene amine structure and oxidized quinoid imine structure based on the relative proportion of these structures in the polymer material. So it exhibits three different oxidation states, namely leucoemeraldine, emeraldine, and pernigranulin. Now let us see the topic electronic behavior of polyaniline. So the pure polyaniline exhibits the electric conductivity of 10 power 8 Siemens per centimeter. When it is treated with 1 mole of hydrochloric acid, it gives a fully protonated source of emeraldine hydrogen chloride. So the formation of this salt is responsible for the maximum electric conductance of 10 power 2 Siemens per centimeter. In the first step of protonic acid doping, the hydrogen atom of the acid attach themselves to the quinoid imine structure to form bipolaron. It is highly unstable and hence it dissociates into more stable form of polarons, and the formation of polaron in the polymer structure is responsible for the maximum electric conductance of 3 into 10 power 2 Siemens per centimeter in the case of polyaniline. The conducting polymers can be used as electrode materials for rechargeable batteries, can be used as analytical sensors for measuring pH and different gases in the present atmosphere, and also conducting polymers can be used as electronic display devices, light emitting diodes, organic photovoltaic cell, and information storage devices. The next topic you need to learn is organic light emitting diodes. Simply, they are known as OLEDs. It is a molecular electronic device capable of converting electrical signal into light signal. So this OLED device consisting of a thin film of semiconducting polymer, which is sandwiched between a thin layer of glass substrate coated with indium tin oxide and a thin layer of metal deposit. So these two electrodes acting as conducting electrodes. So when a direct current is impressed between the two electrodes, so the anode and cathode, they are capable of injecting positive poles and electrons into the conducting polymers, where they recombine to form excited excitons. So these excited excitons come back to ground state. They emit light of definite wavelength. So the efficiency of this conversion depends upon the rate of injection of charge carriers into the conducting polymers. So organic light emitting diodes find applications in HD televisions and multicolor cell phone devices. And organic LEDs can be processed either by screen printing or by ink shifting process, and hence it is cost-effective process. It has very high response time when compared to LCD or plasma screens. So OLED has certain disadvantages. OLEDs have low lifespan of 5 years with maximum usage of 8 hours per day, and OLED may get disintegrated when exposed to moisture or water. The next topic is organic photovoltaic cells. This is a device capable of converting the energy of sunlight directly into electricity. The process of converting light energy into electric current in organic PV cell is composed of 4 steps, namely light absorption or exciton generation, diffusion of exciton dissociation, and charge carrier extraction or electric current generation. When the polymer absorbs the energy, the electron goes to the from HOMO to LUMO level and forms a pair of positive hole, and the electron is known as exciton. Then the second step, this exciton moves towards the interface of donor acceptor. So because of high electronegativity of the acceptor, the dissociation of the exciton takes place. Once the exciton is dissociated, these charge carriers move independently towards the respective electrodes and conduct the electric current. An organic photovoltaic cell exhibits different architectures, namely single layer organic solar cells, bilayer heterojunction organic solar cells, and bulk heterojunction organic solar cells. In the case of single layer organic solar cell, the organic semiconducting polymer is used. In the case of bilayer heterojunction organic solar cell, N-type and P-type semiconductors are used. And in the case of bulk heterojunction organic solar cell, the N-type and P-type semiconductors are used in nanoform to improve the efficiency of conversion. So next up is liquid crystals. So liquid crystals have the property of the liquids and crystalline solids. For example, cholesterol benzoate is an example of liquid crystal. It undergoes phase transition at 145 degrees Celsius into liquid crystal, which merges into further the isotropic clear liquid at 178 degrees Celsius. So liquid crystals can be broadly classified into two groups: thermotropic liquid crystals and leutropic liquid crystals. Thermotropic liquid crystals are the functions of temperature, whereas leutropic liquid crystals are the functions of concentration of the materials. Thermotropic liquid crystals are of rod-like molecules or disc-like molecules. So the rod-like or thread-like molecules exhibits the intermediate mesophases as nematic phases and somatic phases. So you need to explain thermotropic liquid crystals intermediate phases in detail. So the nematic liquid phase is the highest temperature mesophase in thermotropic liquid crystals, so in which the molecules are free to flow like liquids, and since they possess no transitional order, their center of mass of positions are randomly distributed. They are thread-like. They have thread-like structure. Somatic liquid phase interfaces are of two types: somatic A mesophase and somatic C mesophase. Somatic A mesophase molecules are parallel to one another and are arranged in layers with long axis perpendicular to the layer plane. Somatic C has the long axis of the molecules which are tilted with an average angle differing from 90 degrees Celsius, 90 degree. And both somatic A and somatic C are optically active. The cholesteric liquid phase or twisted nematic liquid phase is optically active. The structure has local molecular ordering, which will be identical to that of nematic phase. Now let me explain liquid crystal display. It is basically a display device capable of producing an image on the screen. For making LCD, a thin layer twisted nematic liquid crystal material is sandwiched between two transparent glass sheets coated on their inner sides with indium tin oxide are used. So the electrons are used to control the electric field on the direction of the alignment of liquid crystal molecules, and hence the liquid crystal acts as a light switch in CD. In LCD, we need a suitable light source for emitting unpolarized light. So when a voltage is applied to the electrodes, the twisted nematic liquid crystal molecules tend to align 90 degrees. So when the vertical polarized light passes through on liquid crystal segment, it will remain unchanged. So next will be a horizontal polarizer, which will block vertically so that the segment will appear as dark. If the liquid crystal segment is off, it becomes horizontally polarized and becomes twisted nematic crystal molecules. So the front polarizer is horizontal polarizer, which will pass the horizontal polarizer, so it will appear as bright for the observer. So LCDs has its own advantages and limitations. So the heat generation during the operation is less when you use in the LCD display devices, and the power consumption is very less when it is compared with other display devices. The overall cost of the device is very low, but this device requires an external source of light. It is less reliable display device, and the visibility relies on light intensity. The fourth unit is carbon materials, in which you are learning the topics fullerenes, van der Waals solids, and carbon nanotubes. Fullerene C60 is a single stable molecule consisting of about 60 carbon atoms. It is of about 1 nanometer diameter. So the fullerene C60 can be prepared by electric arc method, in which the two graphite electrodes are used as precursors. So by impressing the direct current of 100 to 125 ampere with a direct current potential of 20 to 25 volts across the electrodes at an unit atmosphere of 100 torr, the anode graphite is capable of producing a fluffy condensate of soot particles. So these soot particles can be extracted by the process of solvation using the toluene as solvent. By using suitable rotary evaporator, the toluene can be removed so that the process can produce the fullerene C60, and using the liquid chromatography, this fullerene C60 can be purified. So the most important properties of fullerene are, first, the solubility. So fullerene can exist either as aggregates or as crystalline form with face-centered cubic lattice. In aggregate and crystal form, they are soluble in many organic solvents. Fullerene can act as an electron acceptor in donor-acceptor unit of energy conversion system. Fullerene can form superconducting crystals when doped with suitable alkali metals. The solutions of fullerene are capable of shifting light from yellow to green. The fullerene are of spherical in shape, and they are electron deficient. They have the electron deficient character with 30 number of conjugated double bonds, and hence fullerene can be used as an antioxidant in cosmetics and biological systems. Let us see the application of fullerenes. So it can be used as radical scavenger because it can react readily with free radicals due to the presence of large number of conjugated double bonds. Fullerenes find applications in photovoltaic devices, organic electronics, and photocatalysis. And fullerenes can deactivate pathogenic microorganisms via photocatalysis process. So fullerenes have the ability to retain a maximum of 6.1% of hydrogen in hydrogen-oxygen fuel cells and can be used as energy storage devices. Fullerene in presence of graphene can be used as electrode materials for superconductors, which will have the specific capacitance of 135 Faraday per gram. So we're going to see the structure of van der Waals solids, namely graphene, graphene oxide, and reduced graphene oxide. Graphene is a single atomic plane of graphite. So it is a two-dimensional planar sheet of sp2 hybrid carbon atoms. Graphene oxide is enriched with reactive oxygen functional groups on the basal plane and carboxyl functional groups at the edges. So graphene oxide is electrically insulated because it contains different functional groups which disturb sp2 bonding interactions. But the reduced graphene oxide has less number of oxygen-related functional groups. So because of less percentage of oxygen-related functional groups, the percentage of sp2 carbon atoms increases, in turn increases its electrical conductivity. So graphene has tensile strength of 130 gigapascal, and it has the toughness of 4 megapascal and stiffness of 1 terapascal with the effective thickness of 0.335 nanometer. It has a thermal conductivity of 5000 watt per meter per Kelvin. It has a large carrier mobility of 2 lakh centimeters square per volt per second. In graphene, the electrons can travel at extremely high velocity. It possesses good power density and high electron density. So graphene can be used as energy storage devices for various space applications. Okay. Graphene can be used as electrode materials for energy storage applications. So graphene can be used for making lightweight flexible solar cell electrodes. So graphene can be used as energy storage device for robotic applications. Graphene with 96% carbon content can be used for fabricating supercapacitors with high energy density and good power density for spacecraft and aircraft applications. The lightweight graphene-based devices can reduce payload mass and volume so that the graphene can be used in rovers and landers. So graphene-based devices are flexible and extremely thin and lightweight, and hence it can be incorporated into astronaut garments and equipments. And carbon nanotubes, they are one-dimensional cylindrical nanomaterials. They are represented or made by folding of graphene sheet. There are two types of carbon nanotubes, namely single-wall carbon nanotubes and multi-wall carbon nanotubes. If a nanotube has a single cylinder of graphene sheet, it is known as single-wall carbon nanotube. If it has a number of concentric rings of graphene sheet, it is known as multi-wall carbon nanotubes. The carbon nanotubes can be synthesized either by thermal CVD method or by laser ablation method. The thermal CVD method is used to produce both single-wall as well as multi-wall carbon nanotubes. The reactor consisting of a quartz tube is enclosed in a furnace, and the substrate used is either silica or mica quartz with nanoparticle catalysts like iron, cobalt, and nickel. The precursors used in thermal CVD are methane, acetylene, and ethylene. The reactor operates at a temperature of 500 to 900 Kelvin. So at this temperature, the carbon-based precursors are decomposed and produce carbon atoms. So these carbon atoms dissolve readily in the nanoparticle catalyst. When their concentration reaches supersaturation, then they get precipitated and grow as carbon nanotubes. The laser ablation method is used to prepare high-quality single-wall carbon nanotubes. The apparatus consisting of 5 major components, namely a furnace, a quartz tube, a graphite target, a flow system for argon gas to maintain constant pressure, and a water-cooled copper collector. So to produce high-quality single-wall carbon nanotube, the furnace temperature is maintained at 1200 degrees Celsius. When the laser beam of neodymium yttrium aluminum cutter is incorporated and focused into the target, graphite target, which is located in the center of the furnace, the laser vaporizes graphite and to produce carbon atoms. So these carbon atoms are swept by the argon gas from the high temperature zone to the colder copper collector, where they condense and produce carbon nanotubes. Similar to graphene, carbon nanotubes can function as both metallic conductors as well as semiconductors. So the electric conductivity of carbon nanotubes depends upon the chirality or helicity and the diameter of carbon nanotubes. So the chirality refers to the rolling of graphene sheet with respect to tube axis. So it results 3 types of carbon nanotubes, namely zigzag nanotubes, armature nanotubes, and chiral nanotubes. Basically, all armature nanotubes are metallic conducting due to the absence of grain dislocations and grain boundaries. So they can carry billion amperes of current. Zigzag and chiral nanotubes would behave like a metallic, either metallic or semiconductors. As the diameter of carbon nanotube decreases, the electrical conductivity decreases in the case of carbon nanotubes. So the most important properties of carbon nanotubes are, so carbon nanotubes have very high tensile strength of 63 gigapascal. So carbon nanotubes are therefore 50 to 60 times stronger than steel. Carbon nanotubes have the Young's modulus of 1.27 to 1.8 terapascal. So carbon nanotubes have very high thermal conductivity of 4000 watt per meter per Kelvin, and carbon nanotubes have the density of 1/2 that of aluminum. So carbon nanotubes find applications in catalysis as catalyst support. Carbon nanotubes can be used as drug carriers in medicine. Carbon nanotubes can be used as ideal field emitters for flat panel display screens in electronics. Carbon nanotubes can be used as energy storage devices in hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. So carbon nanotubes can be used as sensors for monitoring the temperature, blood glucose, etc. And carbon nanotubes can also be used for making stronger aircraft component materials. So the fifth unit is engineering materials, in which you are learning the topic Gibbs phase rule, phase diagram of water system, thermal analysis, phase diagram of lead silver system, determination of calorific value of solid fuels, manufacture of synthetic petrol, knocking in IC engine, size dependent properties of nanomaterials, and synthesis of gold and silver nanoparticles. So the Gibbs phase rule, it is mathematically stated as F is equal to C minus P plus 2, where P is number of phases present in equilibrium, C is number of components for the system, and F is the number of degrees of freedom for the equilibrium. For example, in the freezing water system, this system consisting of three phases, namely a solid ice phase, a liquid water phase, and a gaseous water vapor phase. A pure gas or any number of gases form a single phase, and if the two liquids are completely miscible, they form two separate phases. If the two liquids are completely immiscible, they form two different phases. If the two liquids are miscible, they form a single phase. And each solid in phase rule is considered as a separate phase. Similarly, each allotrope of a substance is considered as a separate phase. So what is meant by components of a system? It is the minimum number of chemical constituents required to express the chemical composition of all the phases present in the system. For example, in the freezing water system, all three different phases of the system can be expressed by using the chemical constant of water, and hence it is a one common system. That one component is H2. In the case of thermal decomposition of calcium carbonate, three phases exist, and they are calcium carbonate solid, calcium oxide solid, and carbon dioxide gas. So the chemical composition of all the three phases can be expressed by any two of the three chemical constituents, and hence it is a two component system. And dissociation of ammonium chloride in vacuum is considered as one common system, because both the phases, I mean solid ammonium chloride and the gaseous mixture of ammonia and HCl, can be expressed by the component NH4Cl. So degrees of freedom is defined as the minimum number of independent variable factors such as temperature, pressure, and concentration or composition, which are required to describe the system completely. So in order to describe water and water vapor, so only one variable factor, either temperature or pressure, is needed, and hence it is an univariant system. In order to describe only the water vapor, you need two variable factors, temperature and pressure, and hence the system is bivariant. And in order to describe the ice, water, and water vapor equilibrium, no variable factors are required, because all three phases can be simultaneous equilibrium at a constant pressure and at a constant temperature. Now let us see the next topic, phase diagram of water system. So it is an example of one component system consisting of three phases, namely solid ice, liquid water, and water vapor. The phase diagram of water system consisting of three phases three curves, namely curve OA, curve OB, and curve OC. Curve OA is known as vaporization curve, as it separates liquid water and water vapor. Curve OB is known as fusion curve, as it separates solid ice and liquid water. Curve OC is known as sublimation curve, as it separates solid ice and water vapor. The phase diagram has a point O, it is known as triple point. At the triple point, all the three phases are simultaneously in equilibrium. So the triple point of water system corresponds to a constant pressure of 4.58 mm mercury and a constant temperature of 0.0075 degrees Celsius. The phase diagram consisting of three areas: area AOB, which represents a liquid phase; area BOC, which represents solid ice; area COA, which represents water vapor. So the curve OA thus in the phase diagram is known as metastable equilibrium curve for supercooled water. Supercooling is cooling of water below its freezing point without separation of any solid crystals. It is highly unstable. So this highly unstable supercooled water can be converted into liquid crystals or liquid solids by slight air disturbance. Sir, இல்ல சார் கர்சர் மூவ் ஆக மாட்டேங்குது சார். இப்போ ஓகே ஓகேங்க. Now let us see the next topic, thermal analysis. It involves the study of cooling curve of various compounds of two solids during solidification. So the thermal cooling curve for pure metals and cooling curve for mixture of two solids are given. In the case of pure metal, the curve SA, along the curve SA, the temperature of the liquid pure metal decreases when the temperature A or the point A is reached, the liquid starts freezing. Now the temperature will remain constant till the end of the freezing because the liquid melt and solid crystals are of same chemical composition. Once it becomes the solid, then the temperature thereafter the temperature of the solid increases gradually with time. But in the case of cooling curve of mixture of two solids, so along the curve SA, the temperature of the melt decreases gradually, and when the point A is reached, either A or B starts freezing. So along the curve AB, again the liquid melt, the temperature of the liquid melt again decreases at a different rate. This is because the chemical composition of liquid melt and the solid are of two different composition. When the liquid melt reaches eutectic composition, then it becomes solid A and solid B, and hence the temperature will remain constant. Once it becomes a solid, complete solid, thereafter the temperature again decreases gradually with time. So it is possible to construct a complete phase diagram of two component eutectic system on the basis of large number of cooling curves of various composition. So by plotting the freezing point temperature of different composition of two solids with respect to the composition, it is possible to get an eutectic phase diagram of a two component eutectic system. Let us see an example of eutectic phase diagram, lead silver alloy system. So this phase diagram consisting of the two curves, curve AO, curve BO, then consisting of an eutectic point O. The phase diagram has four areas: area above AOB, area below the curve BO, and area below the curve AO, and the area below the point O. The curve AO is known as freezing point curve of silver because addition of lead here lowest is freezing point temperature. So curve BO is known as freezing point curve of lead because addition of silver reduces the freezing point of lead metal. So at the eutectic point, the liquid melt of definite composition 97.4% lead and 2.6% silver solidifies into solid lead and solid silver. So at the eutectic point, the system is zero variant. Now the next topic, let us see the next topic, fuels. Fuel is a substance which on combustion produces large amount of heat that can be utilized economically for industrial and domestic applications. Fuels, chemical fuels can be classified into two types, primary fuels or natural occurring fuels, or secondary fuels or manufactured fuels. So the primary or naturally occurring fuels are wood, petroleum and natural gas. The derivatives of primary fuels are semi-coke, coke, gasoline, producer gas and water gas. The amount of heat produced by the combustion of these fuels can be measured by a unit is known as calorific value. There are two types of calorific values known as gross calorific value and net calorific value. The gross calorific value is defined as the total heat generated when unit quantity of fuel is burned completely and the products of combustion are allowed to cool to room temperature. The net calorific value is defined as the net amount of heat produced when unit quantity of fuel is completely burned and the products of combustion are allowed to escape. The calorific values of solid fuels can be determined by using bomb calorimeter. So the three major components of a bomb calorimeter apparatus are a stainless steel bomb, a copper calorimeter, and a stainless steel crucible. The stainless steel bomb is provided with two electrodes and an oxygen inlet valve, and it is placed in a copper calorimeter containing the water, and the copper calorimeter is provided with a Beckman thermometer to measure the temperature with an accuracy of 0.001 degrees Celsius, and is provided with a mechanical stirrer to maintain uniform temperature. A stainless steel crucible is used to hold the sample, and a magnesium fuse wire is used to ignite the fuel sample. So when the fuel is ignited by supplying a direct current, the amount of heat produced can be monitored. By heat balance, the amount of heat produced by the substance is equal to heat absorbed by the water and copper calorimeter. Let the mass of fuel is m gram, mass of water in calorimeter is w gram, and what mass of water equivalent is small w gram. Let the initial temperature of water is T1 degree Celsius and final temperature of water is T2 degree Celsius. So by heat balance, so the heat absorbed by water calorimeter therefore is equal to the heat produced by the fuel due to the combustion. I mean X into M is equivalent to the temperature produced by burning of fuel is T2 T minus 1 to be multiplied with the mass of water in copper calorimeter and the mass of the fuel. So the calorific value X therefore can be calculated using the expression capital W plus small w into T2 minus T1 divided by M calories per gram. So the petrol can be manufactured by Fischer-Tropsch method. This is a synthetic method, so in which the solid carbon materials are used. The process mill is used to convert a solid fuel carbon directly into a liquid fuel. So the raw materials used in Fischer-Tropsch process are red hot coke and steam, and the process produces a water gas. So in Fischer-Tropsch process, in the first step, a purifying chamber consisting of ferric oxide sodium carbonate is used to purify water gas in order to remove if any sulfur compounds are present. Then the purified this water gas is compressed to 5 to 25 atmosphere over the oxides of the catalyst thorium and cobalt, so which produces a mixture of hydrocarbons, namely N-paraffins and olefins. So this mixture can be fractionated into the gasoline and heavy oil. The gasoline can be used as such. The heavy oil can be used for cracking to get more amount of gasoline. So the next topic is knocking in IC engine. Knocking is a kind of mild explosion which occurs in IC engine due to rapid combustion of fuel and air mixture. In spark ignition engine, it is due to pre-ignition, and in combustion ignition engine, it is due to delayed ignition. So the knocking tendency in IC engine depends upon the compactness of molecule, double bonds, and cyclic structure. The knocking tendency in SA engine decreases in the following order, while the knocking tendency in CA engine increases in the same order: N-paraffins, isoparaffins, olefins, naphthenes, and aromatics. It means that the presence of maximum quantity of aromatics and minimum quantity of N-paraffins in petrol is desirable. It also indicates that the presence of maximum quantity of N-paraffins and minimum quantity of aromatics in diesel is desirable. So the quality of petrol is expressed in terms of octane number. It is defined as the percentage of isooctane and ketane mixture, which has same amount of knocking characteristics as a standard binary mixtures when tested in a standard test engine under standard condition. The octane number of petrol can be improved by adding 1 to 3 ml of ethyl fluid. So the petrol containing this ethyl fluid is known as leaded petrol. The quality of diesel oil is expressed in terms of cetane number. It is defined as the percentage of cetane in cetane alpha methyl naphthalene, which has same ignition delay as a standard binary mixture when tested in a standard testing under standard conditions. So the cetane number of diesel can be improved through the addition of either isoamyl nitrate or ethyl nitrate. Now let us see the size dependent properties of nanomaterials. So in the case of electronic properties, in bulk materials, conduction takes place because of the movement of electrons or mobile electrons. So but in the case of nanomaterials, quantum confinement dominates. For zero-dimensional nanomaterials, electrons are confined in three-dimensional space, and hence no delocalization occurs. And in the case of one-dimensional nanomaterials, electron confinement occurs in two-dimensional space, and hence electron delocalization or movement occurs along the axis of nanowires or nanotubes. In bulk materials, all the atoms are compactly packed, and hence they exhibit higher melting point temperatures. But in nanomaterials, surface atoms will have more freedom to move, and hence they exhibit lower melting point temperatures. So as the particle size decreases, the melting point temperature of nanomaterials also decreases. So size reduction nanomaterials leads to more number of surface atoms with enhanced surface area. This effect increases the reaction rate and efficiency of various chemical reactions. So you know that because of quantum confinement, size reduction in nanoparticle shifts the emission of light towards shorter wavelength, blue-shaped. The synthesis of cold nanoparticles can be done either by chemical citrate reduction process or by sodium boron hydrate reduction process. In citrate reduction process, the precursors tetrachloroauric acid is heated with the reducing agent like trisodium citrate, and when it is stirred vigorously, the color of the solutions change gradually from transparent light yellow into dark black, finally into a wine red color, which indicates the formation of gold nanoparticles. In the sodium boron hydrate reduction process, The precursors used are tetrachloroauric acid, sodium boron hydride, and trisodium citrate. When this liquid mixture is vigorously stirred, the color of the solution immediately changes into pink, and the continuous stirring of the solution finally turns the solution wine red, which indicates the formation of gold nanoparticle. Next, synthesis of silver nanoparticles by chemical reduction method, in which the silver nitrate, trisodium citrate, and ascorbic acid are used as precursors. So during this process, when this mixture is stirred vigorously, the solution becomes greenish in color. Gradually, it changes into light color, which indicates the formation of silver nanoparticles. So nanoparticles find applications in drug delivery, and silver nanoparticles can be used in chemotherapy and photosensitizers. And nanocomposites of graphene carbon nanotubes with molybdenum disulfide and tungsten disulfide can be used as strong biodegradable polymeric nanocomposites, which is used for bone tissue engineering applications. The iron nanoparticles conjugated with polysaccharides can be used for specific cellular biomarkers in tender diagnostic